very young studio. Alban was crazy enough to try and successfully build a game studio in Singapore. Crazy because the costs are quite high as compared to me, as I built a game studio in Thailand. But he will explain us how he did it and what are the opportunities, I guess, and the pitfalls to avoid. So please welcome Alban.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Alban from Forever Young. So I'm going to mainly discuss about the challenges and the opportunities of launching a gaming studio in Singapore. So where do we come from? I mean, not humans, but I mean, just us. Where do we come from? We started as a digital advertising company, an agency, in 2008. And so we were specialized in web and mobile. And we evolved by working with partners, so a social media platform based in France called Tiger Lily, and a serious gaming company called Succubus Interactive. In 2010, we decided to make the big jump and try set up a studio, a gaming studio. But since we were coming from the advertising industry, we believed that it would also be safe to enter into the gamification space. So I would say that the gaming is clearly a gathering of all the skills that we already had in our agency. So this was basically the reason why it wasn't so complicated for us in terms of process. Also, we see a lot of similarities in the production compared to what we do on a daily basis in the agency. So it could be the technical side, of course the process, the fact that it's innovation driven, and well, of course the stress and the constraints. We get that all the time, even with the agency. So why, generally speaking, do people make games in Asia? Because this is the starting point for us as well. I would say that the main motivation factors would be first money. Money because, well, studios want to seize the Asian opportunity. But it could also be pure fun because people want to create games. After all, there is nothing else that matters. Fame could be fame. Fame sometimes could be the most important factor for some people. Why not? As gaming is a means of expression anyway. So if you're an artist, you can set up your studio and try to use that as a medium. Or it could be change. What I mean by change is really innovation. Generally speaking, entrepreneurs are innovators, and so the fact that it's in the gaming industry it's just another field. But all these factors also represent challenges by themselves, because you could have, for example, for money-wise, you can see that it's extremely tough to penetrate some markets in Asia. It requires a lot of time and patience. Fun also has present challenges because it's not always so easy to be recognized for what you have done, and also the fun factor is not something that is acknowledged by the profitability-driven market in Asia. Fame, well, obviously there are tons of challenges here because we're in Asia, you're going to compete with millions of talented people, and it's going to be complicated to just stand up. And change, so innovation. This, well, clearly, probably the most important challenge there is it's actually the markets. Are the markets in Asia really ready for pure innovation, and do they have the backup for that? So this is the most challenging one, according to me. But internally, I would say that our motivation factors are money, because we think that it's possible, even if it requires time. Fun, of course, because we enjoy what we do, but we would enjoy it if it was the agency as well. Change is something that we're interested in because we want to push for innovative ideas in what we create. So this is a case study. The game that we released, Wakan, was released in Q3 2012. You can access it whakan.com. Well, just very quickly, some features within the game, 50 characters to interact with. You can collect cards within the game, so it's RPG in a sense. You have 5 regions that you can explore. The basic concept of the game is that it's a version of Magic: The Gathering, where you can just see the fights in real time. You can also draw runes, symbols on screen in order to cast spells. And we created original designs, original digital art, and music for the game. So this was not, in a sense, a small game to start with. We also created our own editor for all the battle, the game balance, and the map positioning for this game. Very nice effect. So in terms of results, commercially, Wakan was self-published. This is important because that's the reason why we have more than 100,000 downloads, and we still consider that as a success internally. Obviously, we could have more downloads via a publisher. The way we released the games, we tried to use it as a testing tool to understand the market and understand how you can market a game yourself. So we tried the paid app version or the freemium version, but most of the time we sticked with the freemium version because that's where we got the most downloads, and also that's where we got an interesting conversion rate of 1.7%. The average spending is not too bad at 4.9 Sing, and our main markets were quite surprising to us. So it starts with the US. This is not surprising, but then China, Korea, Russia was surprising. France, well, obviously that's because I'm French probably and I have my network, I guess. Japan and Indonesia was quite surprising for this game. Recognition is something that was important to us because we knew from the start that this game was not going to be the next Angry Birds. We're not crazy. And we knew that it's really complicated now to be self-published and make a success out of a game that is not casual, that is mid-core game. So recognition was extremely important, and we got more than 405 stars, so we have an interesting rating worldwide. We have fans. They are really engaged in the game, so they keep asking us questions. They want updates, things like that. So this is what makes us, well, really interested in continuing the experience as well. It's not only whatever recognition or reviews we got, but it's the audience that we have. We got spotted by publishers and started discussions with them for our future games. So the usual suspects, I guess, in the region. And something worth, I guess, mentioning is that we have an investor deal pending that will be announced in July 2013. So for us, this is really what we were looking for. We were looking for recognition in that sense from the industry. Postmortem of the game. So what we got what we received to do this game. So we received Ideas Plus. Some of you might be familiar with that. It's it's dead now. You cannot do that. It has been replaced by another scheme. But Ideas Plus was mainly funding prototypes. So we received, at first it was a promise of 50,000 Sing to build the prototype. And we said, okay, sure, well, give us the money, but we're not going to make a prototype. We're going to create the full game with that. Obviously, this was a bit tight, so we had to find other ways to manage the creation of the full game. We also got eventually marketing assistance to help us promote the game, especially in trade shows, and also do some campaigns, but this was really minor. In terms of time, this is something worth mentioning for new studios. It was approximately more than a year of negotiation with the MDA for something that could have been done very, very easily and that anyway required 3 months of completion. So there is a very big gap between what you should expect and what you will have, what you expect and what you will have. What we got right for the game, so the prototype, I mentioned it already. We completed it on time and with a small team. This was extremely important to us. We got some additional funds from a homemade Kickstarter, because you probably know that you cannot access Kickstarter from Asia. It's mainly a problem of payments, basically. And you need a residence in the UK or in the US. And so we didn't get that. So we created our own homemade Kickstarter on our page. And we received funds for that from the audience. So this helped us finish the game. We think that we have a unique identity and a unique design. We tried our best, at least. And in terms of monetization model, I personally consider it as a success because we really tried everything with the game. It's a single-player game, and we really treated it as if it was a multiplayer game in a sense, in terms of monetization. Again, this is more like a testing tool for us. And yes, the creation of the editor, this was a good idea because that way we can create new games based on the same layout. But we were wrong on a lot of things. We went for iOS only, budget constraints, major mistake. We also decided to go for single player for budget constraints. We should have, from the very beginning, opted for a fake multiplayer. Fake multiplayer, we added it in the game a little bit later by proposing some arenas within the game where you could just compete via Game Center. This is not really multiplayer, but this is a start. But we should have done that from day one because we saw a lot of downloads just because of that. Size, well, we did what we could with the amount of animations, but it was still too big. But it's a mid-core game, so this is not so bad that it looks. Of course, you cannot really download it in the streets, but this is not really a problem for this kind of game. This would be a major problem if our game was simpler and would be like, for example, a match 3 type of game. Launch was extremely bad, especially coming from an agency. We posted the wrong version of the game in the App Store. So it means that for a few days, just before the first update, we got hundreds of people complaining that the game was not launching. This was a problem of miscommunication, and we were too stressed by that time. And we should have applied, now we know, but we should have applied the same rules that we apply for our clients on the agency side. MDA, same thing, you need to manage your expectation, and this is something that I didn't really know because in France this is different. In France we have sometimes less understanding in terms of funding, but we have advisors, real advisors, giving you real advice on what you should do with your product. MDA, this is not the case. You're not going to receive advices. Maybe it's different now with the new schemes, but this was not the case before. Which is actually something that we didn't know, but apparently it's normal. The local startup ecosystem is complex, very, very complex, and hard to crack. So the only way was that we lost a lot of time there. So we had to go in other countries to explore new options. And the design, this is something that everybody told us that, even the MDA, everybody told us that the design is not sexy enough for publishers. And we don't care. So myth and versus reality. So there are tons of opportunities in Singapore. MDA, of course, it's a very, very good option. There is something called the GSC, and you're going to listen to Albert Lim just after me. And we were lucky enough to be hosted within the GSC, which is the Game Solution Center, by the way. It's basically an office that where you can where you can be located and where also you can learn from other creators and studios. So this is perfect. This is really what an incubator is about. It's not an incubator that is going to ask you for shares, for example, in exchange of virtual advices. Other options for studios that are more targeting platforms, IDE obviously, Spring, but Spring, same thing, you need to manage your expectations because not many people are going to get Spring. Tax incentives, this is the most beautiful thing right now in Singapore, and that's why lots of competitors are coming. You can get, for example, PIC just by spending into digital. This, I invite you to discuss with your accountant if you have a studio, or you can ask me some questions about that. It's fine. So incubators, you still have incubators, but you need to select them very carefully. I have no advice on that because we are not part of any accelerators or incubators. Singapore position in APAC is very good, I think, in terms of organic press release and promotion, in terms of finding the right partners, understanding the culture, because this is the center, right, of Asia right now with Hong Kong, and markets. Strong, very, very strong publishing environment, sometimes a bit too strong. And a network of small, talented, and very resilient studios that can help you, I think. And it's still cheaper to create a game in Asia, even in Singapore, compared to the US, for example, or Europe. Threats. Lots of threats as well. So this is not right now, but this is what it could become, right? MDA guidelines and delays are, well, worrying, to say the least, for one big reason. The guidelines are not something that are explained from day one. So for example, from the 50,000 that we should have received, we only received 40,000, just based on some small lines that we didn't see. So this is not a bad intention, of course, from the MDA. On the contrary, it's just the way it was organized with IDS Plus. I just personally think that it's a shame because I really see that everybody wants the same thing, and I think that this must be said. There are something very, very worrying, and probably more than the rest. It's the new visa restrictions. This is more for foreigners, but this is also true for Singaporeans. Because of that, well, all the small companies are going to die very, very soon because it's extremely complicated to find skills locally. Most of the talent are going to be obtained from, they're going to be cannibalized by bigger studios like Ubisoft or EA. So for the smaller studios, you have to find other people, and sometimes you can't. So in that case, you have to rely on other countries. And with the new visa restrictions, you can say bye-bye to good programmers coming from our countries. The market is very unstable. Singapore is trying to push HTML5, which from the previous speaker is not a very, very simple solution for us programmers. Publishers, the market is really flooded with clones and cheap productions, but they are making money. So you have to decide what you want to do. It can be a good option to do a clone. Why not? It just depends on what you want to achieve. And investors, well, I guess it's a common thing. It's not only Singapore or only Asia, but investors are really cautious in games right now. It might be easier to go for for solutions in the US or in Europe. So that being said, what's next for us? We are going to release a new game by the end of June 2013. So it's a game based on it's a word game, so it's a bit more casual than before. So it's new for us. And same thing, we want to use that as a testing tool to understand a new audience as well. And this is the big project for us. We are working on Wakan Wars, which is the sequel basically of Wakan, which is completely cross-platform, and where you can select as many characters as you want. You can customize it, and it's really an RPG. So this is the game we intended to do in the first place. and we couldn't because of budget, of course, so that's why the investor we secured is very important. That's about it for me, so maybe you have some questions you want to ask me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alban.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm still around, so you can ask me.
Yeah, you can always talk to Alban. Please give Alban some applause.
Thank you.